Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome back. Let's get into it.
This is the whole problem. Your strategy simply isn't working. The last hostage came back in February. Since then, you've launched a 3-month blockade of the Gaza Strip, which involved removing any ability to bring in food or aid or water, starving people in a way that is a war crime by most people's understanding of that. You've now allowed a minimal amount of food to be going in after a huge international outcry. You say that one child the New York Times put on the front page wasn't starving. He clearly was starving. He just had other medical issues going on as well. And there are, we know from all the imagery, well, you can shake your head, but there are, as you know, many images coming out of Gaza.
Let's speak about the New York Times.
Well, hang on, let me finish. I'll let you finish. That there are many images coming out of Gaza of starving children. We're not making this up. And if you really believe it's not happening and all of this is a blood libel, then again, and I've had this conversation with you before, you should be pressurizing your prime minister to allow international media to go into Gaza to verify exactly what is happening. But, you know, I want to play you a clip. This is from the BBC. Oh, hang on. I want to play you a clip from Jeremy Bowen.
You're spreading so many lies.
Hang on one second. Ambassador, with respect, I will let you respond. I will let you respond. But I will let you respond, but let me just play one clip to you of the BBC's Middle East editor, Jeremy Bowen, who's reported from every war zone in the last 25, 30 years. Here's what he reported for the BBC.
So the Jordanians have passed on a message from the Israelis. The Israelis don't want us to film out of the window at the devastation inside Gaza. But I've spent 10 minutes looking at it with my own eyes. And I can tell you that communities in the north of Gaza that I knew well, very vibrant, tens of thousands of people living hard lives, but actually with a remarkable human spirit, are flat. There's nothing left of them.
Now, that's the truth, isn't it, Ambassador? You don't want journalists to go in there because what...
I just want to pause it there and say that, you know, that guy is being experienced, and he even said on the airplane that Israeli didn't want him to, you know, record the site from ground, from above. You know, the devastation is totally flat. That this person went there years ago, I'm assuming, and you know, there's nothing left of there. You know what I mean? He's seen it with his own eyes. And maybe that's why it even appears more impression in the ambassador of Israel. You know, that's probably why you don't want no journalists in, because there's nothing there to see. You know, there's only crowds of people living under rubble and people starving to death. You see on the BBC post that the child's proper starving, all skin and bones. I heard a comment that says it's walking zombies. Walking corpse, sorry, no zombies, walking corpse. It's not fair on them, you know. I mean, I think they're only trickling in the what's required. I think about 14%. But we need more aid. But I don't know. You know how Israelis are now. By now,
they're going to uncover and report to the world is utterly horrifying. You have destroyed 2/3, if not more now, of the Gaza Strip. You've displaced 2 million people into a very small area of the Strip, and you now have ministers who you say we shouldn't take seriously, but whose views are never publicly corrected or condemned by Prime Minister Netanyahu. So Smotrich and Ben-Gvir talk openly now about a plan to remove all Palestinians from the Gaza Strip and from the West Bank, and you simply say as the ambassador, well, you shouldn't take them seriously. Why shouldn't we?
Yes, you know,
why shouldn't we? I've not heard Netanyahu. Netanyahu doesn't say what they're saying is wrong.
Keep going. You know, if that's an interview, keep going. For 6 minutes now,
no, now you can respond.
You're showing movies.
I'm not spreading lies.
Wait, if I would have to respond, you know, each allegation, it would take us 15 minutes now. So when you say a lie,
tell me the lie.
You spoke about the New York Times picture. Let's speak about that for a minute. That was blood libel. When you put a picture of a sick Palestinian boy who has a disease and you claim that he was starving, that was a lie. And by the way, they retracted that. But the way they retracted it was also shameful. They put it in a small page on their Twitter with
Right, but to be
89,000
clear, I
followers.
said that other children were starving. I said other
No.
children were
You
starving.
said
Do you
that
deny
this
that?
boy. No, you said that this boy was also starving. You want to rewind it 2 minutes
The
ago?
boy is
You said
clearly.
he was also starving.
The boy
Look at
is
his
clearly.
brother.
The boy
Look at
was
the
clearly.
pictures.
The boy was clearly emaciated, Ambassador. Clearly
No,
emaciated.
no,
So
this
yes, he has a
poor
medical
boy-
condition, but also
Look-
he's clearly not eating, right?
No,
So
that's
why
not true.
deny what we
Look-
see with our own eyes?
So look at his brother when you can see in the picture that his brother is well fed and he has no issues with the family. But this boy, because
Fine,
he's
this
sick,
boy is not
you see this
eating,
horrible picture.
right? So, fine, but is
and
your
that's
position,
what
to be
I'm-
clear, that no, are you saying no children are starving in Gaza? Is that your position?
I'm telling you that there is no starvation in Gaza. There is a starvation campaign, a very successful one, by the way. And this campaign is that.
Well, Donald Trump believes there's a starvation
Wait, let
in
me
Gaza.
finish. With all due respect, with this campaign, that is the reason you don't have a ceasefire now. Because Hamas believes that because now they get the support of the international community, all of a sudden they don't need to negotiate with Israel because aid is coming in. They can take over the aid again, and we can speak about what's happened with the UN not picking up the aid because of Hamas. They will not tell you that, but you have aid.
I just want to pause it there. They keep saying Hamas, they're going to steal the aid or whatnot. That's why we're not giving the aid. That's the excuse, you know. But if you look into it, that, you know, there's been a report that Israel has, sorry about that, Israel has given money to gangs in Gaza and taking the aid from them. And it's been reported by journalists and they've been exposed. But then Netanyahu came out and said this to attack or offense against Hamas. It's just one excuse after another, you know what I mean? They need to pay the gangs to go fight Hamas and also to steal aid, you know, which they say it is not the gangs, it's Hamas. It's just ridiculous at this stage.
Inside Gaza, that the UN is not capable of distributing it, but it's easier to blame Israel. So for Hamas now, they make a mistake. They think they shouldn't negotiate with us. But I tell you that, we will not stop this war with the hostages in Gaza, regardless of what you're going to say, regardless of the blood libel we saw at the New York Times and other media outlets. We know it's a campaign, but this campaign will not change our determination to bring them home. We will not leave them in the tunnels, regardless of all those lies and all those declarations.
Let me ask you something. You were on this show, you were on this very show a year ago debating Abby Martin. And you said, you fancy yourself a journalist. During that debate, you said that Israel has no interest in occupying Gaza. Israel is now very obviously and overtly claiming they intend to occupy Gaza indefinitely, and they announced the construction of 22 illegal settlements in the West Bank, which they also intend to annex. Can you now admit to the world that you are incorrect?
No, the situation on the ground changes. And beyond that, this could have been
You're
avoided in the first
vile.
place
You're
if the
vile.
hostages
You're a
had
vile
been
person.
released
Okay.
and if Hamas had
You're
surrendered
vile.
their weapons,
You're
which
vile.
is something that Israel has stated repeatedly.
You're a liar and
if
you're
you continue
vile.
with the ad hominem
You're a
attacks, we're
propagandist
not
for
going
the
to get to
Israeli
any
government,
actual
and you
arguments.
disgust me. The fact that IDF soldiers are intentionally shooting at and killing desperate Palestinians as they're trying to get humanitarian aid from this Israeli-backed organization, which, of course, is able to even exist because they defamed UNRWA. They starved Palestinians for months. Shut up. They starved Palestinians for months. And then, as the Palestinians are desperate for food, they lure them in with this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and shoot at them. Upward of 200 people since late May have been shot at and killed by Israeli soldiers. Do not forget that. That's the heart of this story.
All
And
right.
let's not forget about the 232
And do not forget that
journalists
lying.
in Gaza
That's not
that
true.
have been
Hamas
slaughtered
has been
by the
shooting them.
IDF.
The Gaza Humanitarian
You're disgusting.
Foundation
You're
even
disgusting.
confirmed it was
You people
Hamas.
disgust me.
They confirmed
There's
it was
no
Hamas.
humanity
And the
with
only
people
thing
like you,
disgusting
Emily.
here is
No
the person
humanity.
who is intentionally
None.
lying and
None.
blaming the
Shut up.
IDF.
I can't
when
even
the
handle your
IDF is the
voice.
one
It
who is
disgusts
assuring
me.
that there's
Disgusts
humanitarian
me.
aid.
I'm an Armenian.
There are 11
I know genocide when I
million meals
see it.
that have been
you
distributed
are a
already.
defender
11
of
million
genocide. You
by
are a
the-
genocider
by the
and a
Gaza
defender of
Humanitarian
genocide. You're
Foundation.
disgusting.
I know you don't like facts,
Disgusting.
Anna, but this is the reality.
Disgusting.
The
You're
only
disgusting.
person who
You
is
disgust me.
threatening.
I can't.
The only group that
Right.
is threatening the distribution of aid is Hamas. That is who has
Right.
been shooting at
Right.
innocent
That's a lie.
Palestinians.
No
something what an Israeli
Palestinians
propagandist would
themselves
say.
have
Israeli
confirmed
It's a lie that has been
are
debunked.
backing
You know
what?
Israel.
Not able to
including by
distribute
independent
military power.
investigation.
I don't know what
Israel's
talk
not
of-
a- The only reason why our politicians here in the United States back Israel, regardless of what it does, whether we're dealing with Democrats or Republicans, is because they're all bought. But the international community sees what's going on for what it is. And it is a genocide. There's an attempted ethnic cleansing. And I'm sorry, but Egypt's not interested in aiding and abetting the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza on behalf of the Israeli government. Not interested.
No,
You're not
what
going
a
to silence
ridiculous
my
argument.
ass. You're not going to
I'm not
silence
trying to
my ass
silence you.
by
I'm trying to
invoking the
debate.
Holocaust or calling me an anti-Semite. I don't give a shit. Okay, I see what's happening clearly. I'm going to speak up about it, and no one's going to shut me up. Period. End
Okay,
of
I'm not-
story. We see what's going on. The entire international community sees what's happening. The Israeli government wants to genocide and ethnically cleanse Palestinians,
What
not
I
just
find-
from
what
Gaza,
I- okay,
but the
hang
West
on.
Bank too.
What
Look
I
at
find-
the terror they're dealing with
What
in the
I
West
find
Bank.
amazing. What I find, hang on.
We can't make the same mistake that we did in Iraq. We should not go to war in Iran on behalf of Israel. If Israel wants to go to war with
Iran
Iran, they
isn't
should
even
do
an Arab
it
country.
themselves without our military support, and that includes taxpayer dollars. Go do it
You
on
have
your
no
own.
idea what
Go
you're
ahead and
talking
enlist,
about.
baby girl. Go do your thing. But leave America out of it. Our men and women in our armed forces shouldn't die.
It's like to say that, we gotta love Anna, she speaks up the truth, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. She clearly states out the clear, the obvious, And the other person she's debating, that I believe personally that they know what's the objective. The Israeli Great Project, they want to conquer the whole of Gaza, the West Bank, and even Syria. If you look in the news now, they wanted to take that part now as well. It's all evident, it's clear in your face. Even Netanyahu brought a map in the Congress, I believe. It's what can you say? They think we're stupid, They just have to listen to what they're saying. If you go on the Israeli channel and look at the subtitles, what they're saying, they'll be open about it, they're proud about it, I heard one time that one of the anchor said that I can't get no sleep if I don't hear a bomb explode in Gaza or something like that.
On behalf of your country.
Families, you will see them today marching, are ready to move now, here, as the situation is now, and to live in tents now. We are ready with our children to move into the Gaza area right away.
Gaza belongs to Israel, to Jews. So the Harvey take our land, so we have to return it to us.
So you speak about a Palestinian state. Your country is a Palestinian state. You will not make Israel a Palestinian state.
And a large proportion of a population of Gaza is starving. I don't know what you would call it other than mass starvation. And it's man-made, and that's very clear. And this is because of blockade, and I have said it in my statement, more than 80 days of blockade straight. And then, of course, there is opening now, but it's not enough. It's just a trickle, and people are starving. Imagine 1,026 people have died while trying to feed themselves. If they're not starving, imagine risking their lives. I don't know why we're even splitting hairs here.
The plane! Going to bomb the plane! Dead to America, dead to Trump! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
Oh my God! Sit down. Don't move.
Alright guys, end the video there. If you're new to the channel, please like, share and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum.